Hazreti Resul-i Ekrem ve Nebi Muhterem sallallahu teala aleyhi ve sellem Efendimiz Hazretlerinin aziz, pak, münevver, mutahhar ruhu şeriflerine salavat-ı şerife getirenlerin ahir ve akıbetleri hayrola. Âle ezvacı tahirat evladı Resul-i Sabık-ı Efendilerimizin, sair enbiya-i zam ve Resul-i Kiram Hazretlerinin evra-ı şeriflerine, Pirimiz Bilal-ı Habeşi radıyallahu anh Efendimizin, mihmandar-ı Resul-i Kibriya Eyüp Sultan Halid bin Zeyd Eba Eyyub el-Ensari radıyallahu anh, Şah Murşidan Şeyh Hacı Muhammed Bahadin Nakşibendi el-Buhari, Mevlana Celaleddin el-Rumi, Mevlana Ziyadin Halid el-Bağdadi, Sahibulzaman Kıbletül İslam Şeyh Mevlana Muhammed Nazım Adil Hakkani, SahibulSaif Şeyh Abdulkerim Kibrisi Rabbani Kaddesallahu esraruhum haziratın erva için. Hadimul Harameyn-i Şerifeyn Yavuz Sultan Selim Han, Ebu'l-Fetvel Megazi Fatih Sultan Mehmet Han ve Serdar-ı Hakan Sultan Abdülhamid Han cennet mekan Firdevs-i Aşiyan haziratının ervana ve evne inayetine. Alel husus bu caminin bahanesi ve bugüne kadar içerisinden gelmiş geçmiş İmam Muezzin Kayyım cemaatinin ve kahfi ehli imanın erva için Allah rızası için El Fatiha. Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. İnna Allah ve melâiketehu yusallûne alen nebi. Ya eyyühellezîne âmenû sallu aleyhi ve sellimu teslîmâ. Allahümme salli ala seyyidina Muhammedin ve ala ali seyyidina Muhammed. Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah. Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah. Eşhedü enne Muhammeden Resulallah. Eşhedü enne Muhammeden Resulallah. Hayya ale's-salâh. Hayya ale's-salâh. حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله سيدنا محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Elhamdülillah, elhamdülillah, elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin, ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecmain. Nahmedullah Teala ve nastağfiru ve eşhedü en la ilahe illallah vahdehu la şerike lah ve eşhedü enne seyyidina Muhammeden abduhu ve habibuhu ve resuluhu sallallahu aleyhi ve ala alihi ve ezvacihi ve ashabi tabi hulefen raşidin mahadinin ba'di ve zemmeti ala tahkik ve zizem minhum alal amiti hulefe resul ala tahkik umarel mu'minin Hazreti Ebu Bakr, Umar, Osman ve Ali ve ala bakri sahabe tabi'in ridvanullahi aleyhim ecmain. Ya eyyuhel mu'minul hazirun İttakullaha Teala fe innallaha ma'allezîne tekavellezîne hum muhsinun. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Salatu ve selamu ala eşrafil enbiya ve mursalin Seyyidina Mevlana Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecmain. All praises are due to Allah, Lord of the universes. All praises are due to Allah who says in the Holy Quran, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, O you who believe, stand firmly for justice. Witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves or your parents or your relatives. Whether one is rich or poor, Allah is more worthy of both. So don't follow your passion. Otherwise, you will be unjust. And if you twist or avoid, then Allah is well aware with all that you do. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. May peace and blessings be upon the Sultan of the Prophets, the Imam of the Messengers, the Master of the first and the last, the pride of creation, the beloved of Allah, Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. May Allah bless him and his noble family and his blessed companions, especially the four Khulafa Rashidin, Hazrati Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrati Umar Farooq, Hazrati Osman al-Ghani, and Hazrati Ali al-Murtaza, and all those who follow them until the last day. May peace and blessings be upon the grand sheikhs of this way, the inheritors of the Prophet ﷺ. May peace and blessings be upon the Ottoman sultans, the pillars of justice. May Allah love those who love them, and may Allah curse those who hate them. Amen. Ya ayyuhal mu'minun, O believers, we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His blessings in this last Jumma of this Islamic year, 1442. May He accept whatever we did that pleased Him. May He forgive us for whatever we did that displeased Him. May the shafaat of the Holy Prophet ﷺ be granted to us. May the medat of our Shaykh reach to us. As our last year wrote for us to stay within the blessings of Jamaat, we're asking for the coming year to be writing for us to stay in the mercy of Jamaat and not enter into the azab of separation. We are also asking with the dua that Mawlana Jalaluddin Rumi Qadasasir used to say at the beginning of the new year, Ya Allah, You are the beginningless, the endless, the most ancient. This is the new year. So I ask You for protection during it from the accursed shaitan, and for help against this ego which leads me to wrongdoing, for being lazy with that which will bring me nearer to You, and for staying far away from what will distance me from You. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, by Your mercy, Ya Zul Jalali wal Ikram. Amin. And who is Hazrati Mawlana? One of the greatest awliya that ever lived, the Pir of the Mevlevi Tariqat. And what is he asking for? He's asking for protection from shaitan and from his ego, the nafs al-amara. Did he think as an awliya, as a king-size awliya, that he did not need protection from shaitan or from his ego? And look at the dua, he was still in his highest maqam, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help him against his ego, to help him against shaitan. He was still showing humbleness to his Lord, saying, I need Your help. And what is this showing to us? It is showing that one of the signs of the believers is that he never feels secure of himself. It shows that the believer is always in a state of being worried. It shows that the believer will always be on guard against to his nafs. Our way is the Nakshibendi way. We are honored to be under the tent of the Nakshibendi Grand Sheikhs. And their greatest lesson to us is, never think that you are safe against your nafs. Our Shaykh SahibulSaif is saying the only job of the prophets was to tell people to turn from dunya to akhirat. Leave their ego, leave worshipping their ego and turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, clean themselves from nafs al-amara. This is the job that 124,000 prophets came to tell people from the beginning of Adam alayhi salam until the last prophet and until the end. Now we are in the akhir of the akhir zaman. We have reached completely to the end. There's nothing between us and the judgment day. The nation of Muhammad ﷺ is still sleeping. The whole mankind is still sleeping. And the biggest ghaflat is falling on the Muslims. Muslims are in big ghaflat, day and night, 24 hours a day. It doesn't matter, holy days, holy nights, it doesn't matter. Everyone is running to satisfy their ego. Be careful. The end of that road is Jahannam. If you don't clean yourself, if you don't clean your ego from nafs al-amara to nafs al-mutma'in, the fire is going to burn. Think good. Every action that you do, sit and analyze. Make good intentions. Fix yourselves. Now is the time to fix yourselves. Now is not the time to become more Fir'auns. Everyone must look, must turn back to their lives and look to understand, yes, once upon a time I was in the jungle. My Lord's mercy has reached me and I'm here now. Let me make it better, not make it worse. If you are not making it better, then you are making it worse. When you were in the jungle, yes, you may have some reason to say, I have this excuse and I have that excuse. Now, you have no excuse. You have a Shaykh that is reminding you. It doesn't matter who you are, he is reminding you and himself 24 hours. If you are not fixing your ego, if you are not turning around to make your ego from nafsul amara to nafsul mutma'in, then nobody is going to reach to you in the grave. So this is the teaching of the highest tariqat that we are getting from our Shaykh, that we must change that nafsul amara. So many people say, brother, Sidi, these are very basic teachings in your tariqah. Why don't you speak about the love of the Prophet? Why don't you speak about the maqamat of the awliya? Why don't you mention more about the abdal, about the autad, about the aqtad? All that kind of talk is malayani, and it will bring a person into ghaflat, heedlessness, for a man who is still drowning in the slavery of his ego, for a man who is not even aware of the tricks and traps of his ego. And the highest saints of this highest tariqat, they were spending their time, spending their ink, spending their breath, speaking about the necessity of fixing that nafs. One of the greatest saints that ever came to this world, Imam Ahmad Farooq al-Sirhindia Rabbani Qadasasir, our 25th Grand Sheikh, he is saying in his Maktubat Sharif, man's nafsul amara has the ambition to always be the head. Its only desire is to be the chief, so that everybody will bow his head in front of it. It does not like to need anybody or to be under someone else's command. These desires of the nafs means that it wants to be an ilah, a god, an idol, so that everybody will worship it. It wants to be a partner with Allah Ta'ala. Even more, the nafs is so low that it does not like partnership, but wants to be the only ruler, commander, with everybody under its command. Allah Ta'ala declares in Hadith al-Qudsi, be an enemy to your nafs, because your nafs is my enemy. This means that if you support the nafs and gives it what it wants, you are helping and strengthening this enemy of Allah Ta'ala. It should be realized what a terrible, horrible crime this is. Allah Ta'ala declares in Hadith al-Qudsi, greatness, superiority are mine only. He who wants to be my partner in these two is my great enemy. Without pitying him, I will fling him into the hellfire. The reason why Allah Ta'ala is hostile against the world, why the world is so low, is because it causes the nafs to get its desires, and because it strengthens the nafs. The one who helps the nafs, which is Allah's enemy, will certainly be Allah's enemy. The sending of prophets, the Shariat's commands and prohibitions are all intended to break, to crush the nafs and to prevent its excessive activities. The more the Shariat is obeyed, the fewer desires the nafs will have. It is for this reason that doing one command of the Shariat is more effective in annihilating, destroying the desires of the nafs than thousands of years of riyazat and mujahada done on one's own. For example, giving 1 cent of zakat, which the Shariat commands, destroys the nafs very much more than giving thousands of gold coins as charity or by doing favors on one's own. On the day of Bayram, eating and drinking instead of fasting, because the Shariat commands us to do so, is more useful than fasting for years. Performing the 2 rakats of morning prayer in Jamaat is better than performing nafila prayers all night till morning and then not performing morning prayer in Jamaat. In short, unless the nafs is purified and wakes up from the dream of becoming a king, being superior, it is impossible to escape punishment. Before going to endless death, it is necessary to consider saving the nafs from this illness. The blessed word La ilaha illallah gets rid of all the false idols inside and outside of man, so it is the most useful, the most effective medicine for purifying the nafs. Great men of tasawwuf chose this word for the purification of the nafs. Unless the road is cleaned with the broom of La, you will not reach to the palace of Illallah. And the words of our Grand Shaykh, they speak the truth. Anyone with an atom's worth of intelligence and with a heart, they will hear the words of our Shaykh, SahibulSaif, Shaykh Abdulkerim al-Kibrisi Rabbani, inside Imam Rabbani's words. These words will make us understand how blessed we are in this Akhir Zaman, sitting in the association of a Shaykh who is not studying and reading to prepare his sohbats, but whose sohbats are coming down from the same source and in the same words as the greatest awliya, because he himself is from those caravan leaders. Alhamdulillah. What do we take from Imam Rabbani's words? Our nafs is the enemy of Allah. And supporting the nafs, becoming a slave to the nafs, it is becoming an enemy to Allah. The greatest, the hardest thing for the nafs is to submit to someone else. To follow a guide who says do this and do that is the thing that the ego hates the most. Imam Rabbani is saying that following the Shariat, it is the most effective thing for breaking the ego. What is the Shariat other than the orders of the Holy Prophet ﷺ? And what is the Shariat other than the Sunnat of the Holy Prophet ﷺ? The Sahaba Kiram, they followed the orders and commands that came to them from the Holy Prophet. In the same way, it is our responsibility to follow the orders and commands of the inheritor of the Holy Prophet that we have taken as a guide, our Shaykh. The Sahaba Kiram who lived like that, they are the stars in the sky that we are trying to follow. If we follow their path, we will reach to the light of the full moon, Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. We have just passed through the commemoration of the Shahadat of the ancestor of Imam Rabbani, Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu an. Hazrat Umar radiallahu an is that person that all the people of Haqq, they love him. Holy Prophet ﷺ said about him, whoever hates Umar hates me. Whoever loves Umar loves me. Allah boasts about the people at the evening of Arafat generally, but He boasts about Umar specifically. Allah did not send a prophet except that his nation had a speaker. And if there was one in my ummah, it would have been Umar. They asked, Ya Rasulullah, how does he speak? And Holy Prophet ﷺ said, angels speak on his tongue. And Hazrat Ammar bin Yasir radiallahu anh said that the Holy Prophet ﷺ told him, Ya Ammar, Jibreel alayhi salam came to me and I asked, Ya Jibreel, tell me about the virtues. Tell me about the good characteristics of Umar ibn al-Khattab in the paradises. And Jibreel alayhi salam said, Ya Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, if I would tell you about the good characteristics of Umar, from the time that Nuh remained among his people for 950 years, I would not finish telling you about the virtues of Umar. Yet, Umar is one of the good actions of Abu Bakr. Hazrat Umar was so loved that Hazrat Abdullah ibn Masud radiallahu anh, when he heard that Hazrat Umar had died from the stab wounds, he started crying so heavily and said, I swear by Allah, if I know that a dog loved Umar, I would even love that dog. I swear by Allah, I am sure that even the thorny trees, they are saddened and distressed by the death of Umar. What is great about Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh, that he always stood for justice, for haqq, even if it was against everything, and especially those things that he loved. That he stood for haqq, for truth, and for justice inside himself and outside himself, and he was always sincere, and he did not care what anyone thought. And he did not care for his own safety. He cared only for that truth, a sincere man. He was never fooled by nafsu amara, because sincerity makes a man to always question himself. Like Hazrat Umar, he was still questioning himself. Hazrat Umar is that companion that he was promised paradise while he was living in this world, one of the 10, the Ashara Mubashara, yet he still questions himself. He was the one who was beloved to the Holy Prophet ﷺ. And even though he was the Khalifa of Islam, and he attained the title of Farooq al-Azam from the heavens, he was still questioning himself. Shaykh Effendi is talking about that attitude of a believer, that one who questions himself. And we must think about the attitude of the nafs, that is so sure of itself, that never questions himself, that never investigates, never finds out. Shaykh Effendi is saying, Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying, be careful from the vision of a believer. He will look with the nur of Allah. You cannot fool that one. When he looks up, he will see up to Sidratul Muntaha. When he looks down, he will see all the way down to 7 levels down. When he looks east, he will see east, west, north, south. Everything comes in front of him. That one is a believer. And that believer still has no right to take guarantee about himself. What do you think? Which one of you here, or which one of these people on this face of earth today, that is going to claim that he is better than Umar radiallahu anh? When Holy Prophet ﷺ was passing from this world, he gave the names of the hypocrites, the munafiqs, a list to another Sahabi. And he said to him, keep this with you. Don't say to anyone. But all other Sahabis, they know that the Holy Prophet ﷺ whispered the names of the munafiqs to that one. Umar radiallahu anh is also knowing and always coming to him and saying to him, please tell me, please. He was one of the greatest Khalifas, and he was saying to him, please tell me, is my name in that book mentioned as a hypocrite? Please tell me. And that one is saying to him, I cannot tell you. Holy Prophet gave me that secret. It's going to the grave with me. I'm not telling you. Yes, Hazrat Umar was that Sahabi with a jalal, with a haybat, but he never took a guarantee to himself. He never said, I am safe. And the secret of Islam is that the one who doesn't feel safe reaches safety. because he holds on to those ones who are in safety. And the one who suspects himself of hypocrisy is free from hypocrisy because he follows a sincere one and listens to him when he says, watch out for yourself. But the one who loses the suspicion of himself, that one opens the door to shaitan and his ego, and that one becomes lost. The way of tariqat is the way of returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to return to Him, not arrogantly, not saying, I deserve your pleasure. The way to Allah is the way of Hazrat Umar Farooq, the way that the believers are described in Surah Al-Fath. Harsh to the unbelievers, gentle to the believers. Our ego, our enemy, we must be harsh to that one. To the believers, we must be gentle. And that harshness to the ego, to the enemy, you cannot do it yourself. You need a guide, you need a friend. As Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu is saying, whoever shows you your faults, that one is your friend. Whoever pays you lip service in your praise, that one is your executioner. Stay with the one who is showing you your faults. He is only trying to bring you back to Allah clean and pure. Don't praise yourself. This is for you, and this is for me, and this is for everyone who is listening. Don't praise yourself. Don't put yourself up. Don't think that you are special. Don't think that you are under special protection. If we are doing that, then we should know that we have given our nafsul amara power over us, and we have become its allies, and we become enemies to Allah. Let others praise you, but don't believe them. Shaykh Effendi is telling us the danger that comes to people in this trick, saying, don't get into illusions and delusions to yourselves, to think, I am the chosen one. No. Your chosen oneness is according to how much you are running to keep your promise to your Lord. If you are running to keep the promise to Allah, then Allah puts you up. What Allah puts up, no one can put down. What Allah is not putting up, no one can put it up. Worldly, you may have some things, but you will be down. And the only way of going up is taqwa. Who has more taqwa is that one who runs more to fulfill his promise to his Lord. That taqwa, that fear of Allah, that is what we need in this Akhir Zaman. May Allah grant us that taqwa by staying with the people of taqwa. If we learn their adab, they will inshallah let us in their circle this life and next life. That is our safety. We are ending with Shaykh Maulana's words saying, our Prophet said, my Lord taught me adab. My Lord taught me manners. May we be with the ones who teach the adab of that Sultan. Their association can make us like lions. Those accompanying donkeys become donkeys. One in the company of a lion becomes a lion. وَمِنَ اللَّهُ تَوْفِقْ الْفَاتِحَةِ. Amen. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah lazim wa lazim. La ilaha illa wa la ilaha illa. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك كبير لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك من الظالمين لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك الصبح قدوس ونور إن ديننا الله الإسلام اللهم صل على محمد